Donald Trump's announcement comes on the GOP's lackluster performance during the midterm elections, where Republicans fell short of the big wins they were anticipating in Congress.
Joining us this morning with a closer look at President Trump's third bid now for the White House is political analyst Basil Smikle. Good morning to you, Basil. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Good morning.
So I know you stayed up to watch this, right? And we've been anticipating and teasing that former President Trump's announcement was going to come last night. I watched it. I wanted to get your take. His tone much more subdued than when he announced his run, say, in 2015, when he came down that elevator at Trump Tower. What did you make of last night's speech and the tone that he did it in?
Well, it's the worst kept secret in politics these days, right? We all sort of anticipated that he was going to do this. By the way, just for context, this hasn't been done since 1892, where a president was elected out of office,
right,
lost their seat, and then came back. This was Grover Cleveland, for all those that might have been around during those days. But, you know, it certainly was a subdued speech. He hit on the same sort of tones that Republicans have in this last cycle, talked a lot about crime, talked about the Democratic governors not doing anything about it, and mayors not calling him to sort of talk to him about how they can how he can help in those situations. He talked about the economy being bad, and he was in charge of the best economy that the country has ever seen. So, I mean, he touched on all the familiar themes, but there certainly was not as dramatic as coming down that big escalator in Trump Tower.
Yeah, but, you know, his team has been discouraging him from making this announcement. So why do you think he made the announcement so early in the presidential election cycle?
Well, my sense is that when you make an announcement like this early, before, you know, get out ahead before your potential rivals, that you have the opportunity to command the media attention for a while before anybody else jumps in. He thinks that he can raise the money in the short term, that, again, he can command the media attention, that the media is always going to go to him for a comment before they go to anybody else, because they're not declared at this point. And, you know, he's been at odds with some of his potential opponents, like a Ron DeSantis, and you see Mike Pence starting to create some distance. So this is an opportunity for him to own the spotlight for as long as he can before anybody else jumps in.
Well, and his advisors were saying, hey, wait at least until the Herschel Walker-Raphael Warnock race goes into the runoff. Of course, we're talking down in Georgia. Didn't wait for that, and then he, of course, pushed for Herschel Walker last night. But let's talk about the timing, because timing's everything. Many of the candidates that Trump endorsed didn't do well in the midterms based on how the Republicans performed. So do you think, looking at the totality, right, that members of the GOP base will actually support President Trump this time around? It seemed like many of them did not right after the midterms.
Yeah, I mean, we started to see just before and certainly after the midterms that there were some major Republican leaders, particularly some former supporters of his, start to create some distance. You had the lieutenant governor of Virginia, who is a big MAGA supporter, you know, start to say publicly on Fox News that she would not be able to support him in 2024. And that was huge. So you're starting to see more and more of that, because there are Republicans that understand, believe that he is a drag on the ticket. It's one thing that if people just don't support him, it's another thing if you make the candidates in that party unelectable, and that's what a lot of Republican leaders are fearing right now.
Yes, I'm curious to know what you think then about how the former president's announcement will impact other potential GOP candidates like Ron DeSantis, as you mentioned, and Mike Pence.
Well, if you think about DeSantis, Pence, but also Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, and Kemp, the governor of Georgia, you know, Trump has gone and attacked all of them because they have found ways to sort of align themselves with his policies without actually embracing Donald Trump, and he's gone after them. I don't know if the Republican electorate has the same stomach, if you will, or tolerance for Trump going after leaders of their party. Again, it's one thing if you have policy differences, but it's another thing if you make those individuals unelectable and create momentum on the Democratic side, which is what his presence in many ways has done over the last few years, particularly when Democrats are running against these election deniers. Many of them lost in the midterm. So I think the party in some ways wants to move on. DeSantis and Pence in some ways trying to sort of recapture a lot of Trump supporters and a lot of that energy and bring it back to more moderation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona was a big example of the election denier losing with Kari Lake. So obviously President Trump, he'd been talking about, he even said it in his speech last night, returns to the White House, has been thinking about it since the first day he left office, right? But besides the midterms and all of that stuff that's playing out and those talking points from the Republicans, he's himself facing a lot of legal issues, including the investigation into his role in the January 6th insurrection, the FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago. There's investigations here in New York. I spoke to Alvin Bragg here in Manhattan about the investigations to the Trump Organization. How do you see all of that playing out during a presidential campaign?
In his view, announcing a run for office makes it harder for all of the folks that you named to come after him. He believes that he has a stronger position as a presidential candidate than as a private citizen who is not going to command that media attention and doesn't have that bully pulpit.
But why?
So
why does a presidential, being a presidential candidate make you not be investigated?
Well, in his mind, he views that he, as a candidate, he can sort of rally the Republican leaders, rally voters to his aid to essentially stomp out or drown out any attacks from what he would call sort of the liberal side, liberal America, the Democrats, because he's going to argue this is a Democratic attack. This isn't an attack on substance. So the more that he can sort of use the bully pulpit to scream that and to get a lot of folks to support him, he thinks what he'll do is push people away from trying to come after him. That is clearly not going to happen. But it will be a constant distraction for his campaign. And frankly, I imagine there are folks in the Republican Party that don't want that distraction. They want to be able to talk about issues.
Yeah. Bottom line, it'll certainly be interesting to see how his campaign plays out. Basil Smikle, thank you again always for being with us this morning.
Good to be with you. Thank you.